Everyone, and welcome to today's LEND webinar. LEND, Leaders Engaged in New Democracies, is an initiative by the Community of Democracies that aims to share information about how democracies work, how we can make democracies work. And with me today, I have one of our honored LEND advisors, Mr. Abdelbasset Ben Hassan from Tunisia, who is leading the Arab Institute for Human Rights based in Tunis. The Institute also has offices in other countries such as Egypt and Morocco and Lebanon, and 2 offices in Tunisia working with human rights, democracy, and citizen education. We're going to talk about Tunisia's transition to democracy. And we have about half an hour. We encourage people to please make comments, and we will get back to your questions or comments during the program. The first issue I would like to raise with you, Mr. Ben Hassan, is the new constitution that was adopted recently, a couple of months ago, which was a huge success for the Tunisian transition to democracy. After a couple of years, actually more than 3 years of transition, since it started in December 2010, all political forces in Tunisia agreed to a constitution that tried to strike a balance between the different groups and their ambitions, and at the same time be a real, truly democratic constitution respecting basic human rights. What is your appreciation? How would you view the constitution that was adopted, Mr. Ben Hassan, from your perspective, being human rights and democracy advocate, and also having played a fairly substantial part of the discussions leading to the new constitution? Are you satisfied? Are there any problems you see with it? Did it strike the right balance between state and religion when it comes to gender issues? Are there any outstanding issues that might come back and haunt Tunisia later?
Hello, everyone, and good evening. Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador, and grateful for the community of Democracies for giving me this opportunity to talk about the Tunisia experience in democratic transition. An exciting, difficult, very complicated, but promising transition process. I think that the constitution, the new constitution adopted in the last 26th of January 2004, I think that it's a real progress in the protection of human rights and liberties. It's different from the last constitution adopted after the independence in 1959. The last constitution was declared and adopted some human rights and liberties, but it was not guaranteed by law, and it was and the dictatorship and despotism really by practice just violated all these civil, political, economic, and social rights. I think that the new constitution is a real progress compared to the first constitution. The new constitution guaranteed some human rights, civil and political rights, like the freedom of expression, the freedom of assembly, the freedom of thought, and of also of assembly. The new constitution is also declared the importance of economic and social rights. And most economic, social, cultural rights are guaranteed by the new constitution. And also the new constitution also is very clear about the some very important concepts like equality between men and women. In that sense, I think the constitution is a real progress. The constitution also is also has a new, I think, human rights developed compared to the last one is about the local participation and the rights of citizens to participate on the local governance. And this is, I think, is a major progress in Tunisia and major progress for the transition and the participation of people in transition. There are some institutions, important institutions, that are also guaranteed by this constitution, like, for example, the Constitutional Court. This is new for Tunisia. The High Commission for Human Rights, and also the National Commission for Elections. I think that this kind of major advancement for the for human rights, and I think that this advancement should now be developed by developing a kind of real human rights system. There are also some weaknesses in this constitution, mainly some confusion around some rights, like the right to life, and also the right of this kind of confusion between the human rights and the rights of citizens, and some confusion in declaring some rights. But I think in general we are satisfied about this constitution, and it's a major advancement for Tunisia.
Mr. Benassin, it sounds as if you would be ready to recommend the Tunisian constitution, even though there are certain things that perhaps might be even better, but that you might be able to recommend it for other countries in the Middle East looking for a good model of a democratic constitution adjusted to a country with a majority of Muslims. Would you think that that is it would be worth marketing the Tunisian constitution to other countries?
I think it's a kind of message of hope, this constitution, because you know that we are in a very difficult moment in the Arab countries. In many Arab countries there are conflicts and some difficult situations for the advancement of human rights. I think that this is a message of hope, and the importance of this constitution is not only about its content and the rights guaranteed by this constitution, but it's about also the process itself, the process of elaboration of this constitution. And I think that this is the real experience that can really influence and I hope that it can positively impact the situation in other Arab countries. This process was made of negotiations, real social debates, major compromises between different ideological and political groups. And also it was, I think, what was also important in this process was the real and powerful participation of civil society organizations, and mainly young people and women's organizations. This process, I think, transformed the civil society organizations from a kind of organization reacting to human rights violations to a kind of civil society power trying to also develop their capacity to suggest and also to develop real proposals on different human rights issues. I think also that the Constitution was also the result of the national debate between different political parties, ending for the moment a very difficult political crisis, and the civil society organizations played a major role in facilitating and also this big national debate.
Yeah. Now you're into a different phase. After the Constitution was adopted, there was technocrat government, more or less with a caretaker role appointed, and the political actors disappeared from the government in order to prepare for the elections, and they're coming up towards the end of the year. Now, this, I understand, is a fairly sensitive period for Tunisia, because the economic and social problems did not go away, and there will not be a political government until after the elections. Is there any risk that the democratic process will be derailed during this process running up to the elections? What are the risks as you see it? Also considering that a technocrat government perhaps is not just so well connected to the citizens that a political government would be. Now, do you have any message to Tunisian actors and to the international community in view of this quite sensitive process?
I think that the process is still sensitive and also very very challenging. And I think that the first message is the continuation of the same spirit of negotiation, discussions, and also compromise. I think that this is the important words that we should retransform into kind of an institution in Tunisia, the institution of negotiations and social debates. This is, I think, that the first thing is to create a kind of hub or space for all political and social actors to continue negotiating and peacefully negotiating this third and difficult and sensitive moment for Tunisia. Second, I think that the government and all the political actors and social actors should, I think, quickly move to develop a kind of vision for this new transition step, and it's a vision for hope for Tunisians. Start to go back to the marginalized issues like economy, like reforming the economic system, giving some hope for young people by trying to find quick solutions to some aspects of unemployment, for example, try to invest in people, in young people, and also start reforming institutions. You know that really to guarantee a kind of democratic elections, we need some, I think, strong, neutral institutions. I'm meaning the security system. We should start by really addressing the problems of this the security system. Also reforming the media sector. and justice. And I think that for any democratic elections, we need that these three major institutions play a kind of monitoring and role. I think that reforming institutions, addressing the economic situation, and combating violence and terrorism, I think that these three issues should be transformed into kind of common national issues. All people should develop a common understanding of these issues, a kind of political agreement on the necessity to have a kind of common vision on these issues, and develop common strategies. The constitutions and the political, the solution to the political crisis went through or was possible because of this kind of national dialogue. And I think that now we need to move to developing national dialogues on other economic security and reform issues.
You keep coming back to the very important role of civil society and the national dialogue. And looking back on the rather unique features of the Tunisian transition so far, and the fact that it actually, so far, touch wood, has been successful, even though it's not been easy. Can you distill any factors why the Tunisian transition until now, and hopefully will continue to be, a success story? Does it have to do with the role, the very engaged role that the civil society has played, the pact that was created in order to support and perhaps push the political actors into a mode of dialogue, a pact that joined both the private sector and the trade unions and civil society organizations? What role did that play? Are there any other unique features that you would want to point out as part of the recipe for success that the Tunisian transition so far has proved to be?
I think that all these factors were very important in I think developing a kind of peaceful transition for the moment, and I hope that this peaceful aspect will continue in the next years. All these factors are important, but also I want really to point out something that I consider that it's deeply rooted in the Tunisian society. It's about the civism of this society. In our history and in our culture, I think that there are some principles that are really deeply rooted in this society. Like, for example, this country was the first country to elaborate a constitution 3,000 years ago. It was also the second or the third country to abolish slavery. And also we have a very, I think, strong reformist religious and cultural school. I think also that the civil society organizations played a major role, and this civil society were founded, the first civil society organization, the trade union UGTT, was founded in 1946. And I think that this gave Tunisia a kind of specific civic aspect, and because of that, the slogans of the revolution were civic. It was about it was about dignity, it was about equality, freedom, and justice. And people are now defending and trying to transform these slogans into reality. Of course, this is the positive aspect of Tunisia, but you know that in the three last years we are facing major challenges and problems like fanaticism, violent political violence, terrorism. This is, for me, I think that this is strange for the major part of Tunisians, but I think that this is a real problem. We should be very careful about the reasons of this new culture for us, this violent culture, and we should really spend more time and gather resources to invest in education, in culture, in arts, because I think that the civism of Tunisia was based mainly on education culture, and I think that with education and culture, investing in education and culture will help us, I think, to overcome these new challenges.
Mr. Bedasan, you stress very much the cultural aspects, perhaps the software of democracy, the importance of values and historic traditions in a society as part of what has made the Tunisian transition successful. And I know that what you were saying about Tunisia's very early constitution building exercise, and also tracing back the different victories that Tunisia has had on your road towards the constitution based on respect for democracy and human rights. This is quite interesting to hear that there has indeed in Tunisia been a history of thousands of years where these important steps have been taken one after one. And this seems to contradict the general opinion that democracy and human rights somehow would be something belonging to one particular part of the world and be pressed on other countries from the outside. Now, when you speak about Tunisia's roots in the millennia-old fight for human rights, you give a different picture. Could you expand a little bit on that?
I think that the transition in Tunisia for the moment was peaceful and successful at certain degree, because I think that we need to be very very careful about the actual and future challenges for this new transition. I think that what is specific to the transition in Tunisia, that the civil society organization played a major role, but they were not alone in playing this role. I think that also some political parties, the businessmen and businesswomen, and many social categories took part to this transition by promoting the necessity to make this transition a success. And I think that this kind of social agreement around, or broad social agreement around the necessity to make this transition a success, to combat violence, try in very difficult moment to develop a kind of common understanding on what we mean by peaceful transition. I think that this is coming from this kind of deeply rooted civic culture. And because of that, when we developed the Tunisia Pact on human rights and liberties, and this was a major tool in promoting this human rights and the transition process. We tried to change a little bit the relationship between specificity and universality, and try to overcome this kind of very conflictual relationship between universality and specificity, saying that it's from our specificity that universality, human rights universality, the democratic principles of human rights were built. We think that from this kind of tolerant, enlightened, and human principles deeply rooted in our culture, we've been part of this kind of big adventure, the adventure of developing universality. And I think that we need really, through culture, through education, through communication, and through also our work with our regional and international partners, we need really to develop a new approach to democracy and human rights. Try really to develop the idea that we have in our history moments of freedom, and that because of these moments, now we should enlarge or develop our participation in this universal adventure, the adventure of human rights and democracy.
You stress very much, you keep coming back to the importance of education for democracy. And your organization does a lot of that. I know that. You've been very, very engaged, and I assume that you will continue to be, particularly with the elections coming up. Now, how is it possible, can you share with us your opinion, how is it possible to work with democracy education in a country like Tunisia, where there is a problem, perhaps, of not everyone being fully educated, having access to basic education, and also perhaps not having much experiences from living in a democratic country for at least for a number of decades. How do you cope with those issues when you develop your programs?
I think that the revolution in Tunisia and the other Arab countries was not a challenge only to the political actors or to the economic and powers, but it was a kind of also challenge to the human rights people. It was about a major question. Human rights was, or the dictatorship and authoritarian regimes were possible because of the marginalization of human rights. And our challenge was how to make human rights part of the transition, how to make human rights part of the different dynamics of democratic transformation, how not to marginalize human rights again. And this was the main challenge for our institution and for different human rights actors. And the idea was to put human rights at the heart of changes, to make also human rights a kind of tool of change. And because of that, we've been working not only on organizing activities, but on developing our discourse, the human rights discourse, how to make the human rights discourse first a tool to propose reform of institutions, reform of legislations, how to make human rights part of the constitution process, how to make human rights part of the development of a new social debates on economic, social policies, how to make human rights part of the education system transformation. This was the major challenges to our work. And now, in partnership with different civil societies, organizations, with ministries like the Ministry of Social Affairs, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Interior, of Culture, and also working in poor neighborhoods and in rural areas. We are trying to develop this new approach, human rights as a tool of work to make people's life better. I think that we need to transform human rights education and education on democracy, to transform this tool, to invest in this tool, and to transform it into a major national strategy. This is what we are trying to develop now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benassan. And I should mention that this question, the last one, was actually coming in from one of our viewers. We have used up our time now. I would like to thank you very, very much. It has been highly interesting, Mr. Benassan. And I believe that I speak for many of us that we will be watching Tunisia with interest during the next steps. And of course, the democratic international community is going to try to do what we can in order to support all Tunisian actors who are creating and engaged in creating a democracy in Tunisia. Thank you, everyone out there who's been watching or who will tune in the future and watch this on YouTube. And thank you for your questions. Join us the next month for another equally interesting discussion as we examine how to build democracy. And again, Mr. Abdelbaset Benassan, it was great talking to you, and looking forward to be able to work with you continuously. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.